Hey everyone, Tom Rafferty. If the heat's on you, it ain't on me. That's the fifth law of thermodynamics. But let me back up for a second. There are actually only four laws of thermodynamics. And thermodynamics is the study of the movement of heat. Thermo means heat, dynamic means movement. Thermodynamics is a topic that you'll study in a physics class or thermodynamics class. And for example, if you take something out of the freezer to put on the counter because you're going to cook it for dinner and you want it to thaw, heat is going to move into that piece of food from the room. You might think that the cold is going to leave that piece of food and go into the room because the room is warmer, but that's not what's happening. Heat is going to leave the room and go into that food. That might be counterintuitive. It might not seem like that's what's happening, but that's what's happening. Energy always goes from higher concentration to lower concentration. If you stick a pin in a balloon, the higher air pressure in that balloon is going to escape from that little pinhole and rip it open even more and do everything it can to escape into the room, which is at lower pressure. Energy goes from higher concentration to lower concentration until it reaches equilibrium. Heat is energy. The movement of heat is the movement of energy. So thermodynamics is a study of how heat moves. Now, there are four laws of thermodynamics, as I said, but there's a fifth law of thermodynamics, tongue-in-cheek. There's not actually a fifth law of thermodynamics in science, but the fifth law of thermodynamics, when it comes to personality types, is if the heat's on you, it ain't on me. And this refers to someone, specifically here I'm talking about a toxic coworker, someone who always puts the attention of management on someone else, someone who always puts the attention of management on a coworker or a colleague and gets the attention of management off themselves. The fifth law of thermodynamics coworker will often paint everything as a disaster. Every project is a disaster. Every undertaking is a disaster. And not because the fifth law coworker is incompetent, but because everyone else is incompetent. Everyone else is the dumbest person this coworker has ever met. Every protocol, every procedure is stupid. It was written by a moron. Everything in the world of this person is completely stupid, except what this person does. This person is the only one who they would have you believe knows what they're doing. Everyone else is messing things up, and this person has to correct everything, all the mistakes that everyone else makes. There was a Seinfeld episode where George Costanza had nothing to do at his job. He worked for the New York Yankees, but he would always look busy by looking annoyed. So his manager would walk by the office and George would be like, looking on his desk at papers, acting annoyed, because he said, if you look annoyed, you look busy. And the fifth law of thermodynamics coworker will often employ this very tactic in their day-to-day job, their day-to-day activity. They will always seem very annoyed at the project that they're on, at the job that they're on, the undertaking they're on. They'll seem very, very annoyed at it. And this does a couple things. A, it makes them seem very busy, even if they're not. And two, it elicits sympathy from management. It elicits a reaction from management, a reaction that goes, oh my gosh, what's wrong? What is so bad? What can I do to help? And then this coworker will list how incompetent and how stupid other people on the project are, and how silly certain rules are, or how inefficient certain procedures are. And then the manager or managers start changing things to make this coworker's life more comfortable, their job more bearable, even though it's no more unbearable than everyone else's job. It's just that they are good at framing a reality. It's a type of gaslighting where they paint everything as a disaster and they're the only ones who know what they're doing. So this type of coworker avoids responsibility. Nothing bad is ever their fault, but everything good is always their doing. They want credit for what's good and never take responsibility for what's bad in a project or a job. You might be able to recognize this kind of coworker because they use questions like a boxer uses a jab. In a meeting, in a project meeting, in a team meeting, in a business meeting, this kind of person will ask questions pretty constantly, and not in a way to elicit information that's going to help them do their job better or serve a client better, but to keep other people on their toes and on the defensive, so that this framing, this false reality of everything is a disaster will constantly be maintained. So you may notice a coworker, even if a manager, a high manager, can ask this coworker a question in a meeting, and it's almost as if this coworker took a jab from a boxer, but they quickly recoup, they quickly reset, and then they start asking questions back to the manager. And the manager, no matter how much higher they are in the organization than this toxic fifth law coworker, the manager will be against the ropes. The manager will be regrouping themselves to answer the questions that are constantly being asked by this toxic coworker to keep the manager on the defensive and off the offensive. So be aware of it, and you may already know of these fifth law of thermodynamics coworkers, among your coworkers. But if you're in a group, in a work group, in a project group, on a project team, and one or more coworkers seem to always have a disaster mindset. Everything is always a disaster. Everything is always a problem. Everyone else but them is always stupid and incompetent. This may be a coworker who is trying to put the heat on everyone else to keep it off of them. Remember, the fifth law of thermodynamics is, if the heat's on you, it ain't on me. This is a very manipulative personality, and it's a personality that transfers blame and responsibility and workload, quite frankly, to other people. One way to counter this is to ask questions back. The last thing this kind of personality expects, certainly the last thing they want, is to be asked questions back. If you ask them a question, they might quickly recover and start firing questions back at you. But if you're poised and you think in a controlled manner and you don't lose your cool, you can think of questions to ask this coworker in your own defense, because you are being manipulated by this coworker, and a way to make it stop is by simply asking questions back. The person will not want to be asked questions. The person may even hang up the phone on you, disconnect from a video meeting, walk out of a meeting. This type of personality does not like to be asked questions back. There's a good chance they're going to back off you. So if you're on a project team, if you are on a team at work, if you have a coworker who is constantly throwing everyone else under the bus, constantly saying how stupid everyone else is, every project this coworker works on, or every job or every undertaking is just the worst disaster imaginable. It's the worst disaster they've ever seen. If that coworker just constantly fires questions, if you feel like a boxer against the ropes, covering up, this might be a fifth law of thermodynamics coworker. Be aware of it and be on the lookout for it. This kind of coworker will be throwing other coworkers under the bus. Just listen for it on video calls or in personal meetings, face-to-face meetings, on phone calls. This is the kind of coworker who really never has anything good to say about anyone else. Everyone else is stupid. Especially the people not in the room or not on the call or not on the video meeting. Everyone else is stupid, incompetent, the worst person imaginable that this person could ever think to work with. Every project would have gone perfectly if it wasn't for everyone else on the team. Of course, not the fifth law coworker. They're perfect in every way, but everyone else is very imperfect and incompetent at their job. So this is a personality type to look out for at work. Always treat everyone kindly, with respect, but sometimes you need to know how to defend yourself, and asking questions back, ask relevant questions back to this coworker, and it might just get them off your back. And hey, if you're on a project team, there's not just supposed to be one person asking all the questions so that everyone else is on the defensive and always scurrying to do work. Your job is to ask questions too. So make sure that you ask some questions and make that coworker get some answers, as well as everyone else getting answers for them. It's a team, and it's supposed to be a team effort. So that's it for today. Please subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you next time with another observation. Thanks, bye.